This week I finished reading Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. It's the second book in the Mistborn series, and it was so excellent. If you don't know what the Mistborn series is about, it's about a young girl named Vin. She's our main character, though we do have very much like a cast of characters in this story. She is from the lowest rank in society called the Ska. She ends up infiltrating the nobility in an attempt to bring down their government. It has one of the coolest magic systems I've ever read called allomancy. Someone who can use all of the metals in allomancy is called a Mistborn, and they can use the properties of each metal to give them a different power. Some of them can give you strength, some of them can help you look a little bit into the future, and there's so many little details in the magic system itself and also in the society that we're seeing in the Mistborn series. The reason I got into the Mistborn series was because I saw how intense the fandom was and how excited they were for a new book, and so I had to check it out, and now I get it. Like I said, Well of Ascension is book 2, so if you have not read both Mistborn and Well of Ascension, it is your time to exit. Go read it and come back so we can discuss. Okay, let's dive in, shall we? It took me a little bit to get into this book because I'm not gonna lie, I was really sad at the end of Mistborn. With Kelsier dead and without having the Lord Ruler to defeat anymore, I was sort of like, where are we going from here? Oh, we went plenty of places. This book picks up a whole year later. We have Luthadel, and Elend is sort of over everything right. He's king, basically, even though at this point he's not doing a good job. And we have this looming fear that his dad is gonna come and try and take the place back. Vin is playing bodyguard full-time. And when I say full-time, I mean 24/7. This girl is tired. Also, oh my gosh, so, our inheritance of the Khandra from Kelsier. Vin decides that she is going to make her Khandra a dog. And not just a dog, like a scary wolfhound. The Khandra complaining about being a wolfhound was so funny. He was basically like, this is embarrassing. Seeing Spook again, I don't know why I love Spook so much. I just think he's adorable. The cutest, and he's back and he's a spy now. And the rumor is that all of the Lord Ruler's ATM is stored somewhere in Luthadel. And so it's not just Elend's dad who wants this. It's very clear war is coming, and it sort of gets to a point of being like, which one upon attack would hurt us the least? At the end of Mistborn, we have this moment with the Lord Ruler when he is like, you're gonna regret killing me. There's like this sort of ominous feel that the Lord Ruler is what has been holding off the deepness. And we sort of find some merit to this when Marsh, our Inquisitor friend, tells us that the mists are coming and going during the day, which is very weird because they used to only come out at night. We sort of table that briefly to go back to Vin, who is chasing another Mistborn. So we have another Mistborn in the mix, and they're sort of kind of like play sparring. I think the idea is that like these Mistborns kind of tend to push on one another to see who's the most powerful. And at one point, Vin seems to burn all of her metals at one time. Her senses go like 10 times as strong. And we don't really defeat this other Mistborn. We do talk to him briefly, and he says that he's an enemy, and at this point, I cannot believe in my notes I put, he says he's an enemy, but he seems cool. Vibes. Young Katelyn had it so wrong. However, he sort of puts this idea into Vin's mind that she's not really in charge of anything, but she's the most powerful. Why are you helping these people? Why are you playing these political games and being used as a pawn and as a weapon and all this stuff? We don't have much time to think about that though, because we find out that another Khandra has taken over someone in the inner circle, because we find those bones that have been fully picked clean because Khandras scoop up the bodies and they become the body. There has yet to be a day when the Khandra don't freak me out. But the problem is, we don't know which inner circle member the Khandra has taken over. This becomes a running theme of the book, of trying to figure out who's the traitor in our midst. Meanwhile, I feel like there's so many times where it's like, meanwhile, over here, because Ham and Sazed have found these caves of sorts, and they have writing on the walls. And Sazed is like, he's first and foremost a scholar, and so he is like, wanting to take down copies of all of these. I forgot why Ham was freaking out, but he was like, we need to leave, and Sazed was like really insistent about like getting this stuff down, and he gets, I think, most of it. We finally get a terrace woman in this story, and her name is Tindell. I realized I had to be wrong about this. But like when I picture the terrace people, I have no idea why I think this. I picture Sazed as that weird alien thing from Avengers. I picture Tindell as the slug lady from Monsters, Inc. I have no idea why, I wish I knew. But she storms into Elend's life, basically, and is like, you're a bad king. She tries to help him be better, and at first, I didn't really like her to start out with because it seemed like she did want to change Elend, but To me, at first, it seemed like she wanted to change him more than she should have. But as we go on, like, we see her influence on Elend and him becoming a more effective leader because of her. And, like, I just love that she comes in and she's like, sit up straight. Stop saying sorry. Wear better clothes. At a certain point, we know that we don't have the ATM in Luthadel, and we have two armies on the verge of attacking. We have Straff, who is Elend's dad, and then we have this other guy named Set, who I have no idea where he came from. And at this point, we're like, which army are we going to give into? Which king are we going to allow to come in here to partner with to defeat the other one? We table this discussion for now. Vin is catching up on some reading, and she finds out that the Lord Ruler wasn't actually the Hero of Ages. He was like the Pac-Man for the theoretically Hero of Ages. He ended up taking power for himself and killing the guy who was supposed to be the Hero of Ages. So theoretically, the actual hero failed in his quest. But was he the real Hero of Ages? Because as we go on, we find more about this. However, Zayn comes and interrupts. So we find out that the Mistborn that we've been fighting against is named Zayn. He is Straff's Mistborn. Like, it's like a thing that these leaders, they have Mistborns. Like, they collect them or something. He's like, Straff wants to talk to you. Vin, for some reason, like, keeps it quiet from Elend that this is the person that she's been fighting. And I don't know if it's just because Vin is just, like, very internal and, like, she doesn't like to talk about ideas or things that she's thinking about until they're fully formed, is my impression of her. Because I was like, why are we not talking to Elend about this? All caps, Zayn is Elend's brother. I did not see that coming, not gonna lie. It was very, which movie is it? Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The guy who keeps having all these kids trying to, like, replicate his power. It was weird because Straff, I don't think he's Mistborn. Like, he can use Allomancy, but I don't think he's a full Mistborn. But he had, like, all these kids trying to have more Allomancers on his side, and Zayn is one of those people. And it's wild because, like, while Elend was raised in luxury, Zayn has had a very hard upbringing. And he's insane. He has these voices telling him to kill everyone. He thinks that Vin helps him feel more sane. And then he's like having these thoughts of like, she's gonna save me. No. I see an obsession forming and I don't like it. We meet with Straff. That was horrible. I hate this man. And I liked that Elend just basically threatened his life with Vin. Vin over here at a full whopping 95 pounds soaking wet. I thought that was like funny. Like, I mean, it's a clear threat. Like, she's obviously super powerful, but I loved that part. And then I hated anything we got from Straff's perspective was just so disgusting. And I realized that it's supposed to be disgusting. But like, he's basically a pedophile. Elend gets himself deposed. I think this shows Elend's just like so pure nature. Like, this man wrote the laws that could get him kicked out of office. He made it so that people can civilly overthrow a king. Unfortunately, he's the king that has been overthrown. So we're starting to deal with that, and some of our crew members are like, you need to maintain power. Like, everything is so unstable with their society and government and stuff right now that they're like, even a bad king is better than instability. But Elend won't go for it. Like, he won't bite. I loved Orsier, and I absolutely love the part where Vin is accidentally petting Orsier in his little wolfhound form, and he's like, I'm not sure what to think of this experience, mistress. I loved their conversations over time. Like, the Conjure are basically treated like slaves a lot of the time, and Vin is trying to actually get to know Orsier. Like, she feels bad that she kind of has, you know, had this antagonistic kind of vibe with him for a really long time, and a huge part of that is because he was almost complicit in letting Kelsier go and die. But as she's like getting to know him, they're kind of like forming a little friendship, and I really liked that. Him following after her even when like she doesn't necessarily need him and stuff. Like, it was really cute. I was like, I'm so glad you're bonding with your dog. So we're reading that this guy named Elend was originally the Hero of Ages. And now I have no idea if this is correct. But seeing how the end happened, Elend, I just feel like they're so close. I feel like there's something there. Then reading this, she's like making these connections, and then she's thinking about the mists, and she thinks that the deepness is the mists, and that she herself might be like the second coming of the hero of ages, since the last hero was killed before he could defeat the deepness. She specifically thinks this because she's burned mist before, the way she would burn a metal. And I feel like she's making these connections, and like Vin is not the type to be like, I am the main character. I think she was reading this and was like, there's a lot of connections here, and she takes this theory to Sazed. Sazed sort of shuts it down. I didn't really expect him to do that, to be honest. Like, I thought he was going to be kind of more open to that idea. Eventually I feel like he was, but like this initial, her telling him this, I feel like he shouldn't have shut her down so hard, because I was like, this is a true theory, Sazed. So we have Set come visit us about being king. He was gonna wait to invade against Straff, but then I think he knew that Elend was deposed. I don't remember exactly what happened at that point, but it comes time to do voting day, and like it seems like the Ska might be backing Set, and Elend was like, I need to do something to get the people back on my side. And I was like, he's gonna propose. I truly believed this. And then Elend is like, look, like what I'm about to do changes nothing between us. Oh my gosh. Cause like Elend, he's like proposed marriage. He's talked about marriage. Like he wants to be with Vin, and Vin is sort of the stop sign here. And I was like, Vin is gonna have to accept this marriage proposal in front of all these people, because like, of course the people want them to be married. Vin famously is a Ska. The people revere her so highly. They kind of see her as Kelsier's successor. And Elend was saying all this stuff, and Vin was getting like really nervous. I was like, Vin, do not mess this up. Like, come on, girl. Turns out Elend doesn't propose. He just like joined the Church of Kelsier. Obviously, like Kelsier, when he died, he had the Kandra take over his body so that people could see that the survivor lived after being killed by the Lord Ruler. And he started this religion. And so obviously, like, I don't know why I didn't think of this. Like, of course a church started around it. Like, he set himself up to be a religious figure, but like seeing it happen and built, like there's a lot of people who think it's kind of weird, kind of off, and that's to be expected. But Elend has now like partnered himself with this church, who, by the way, they kind of like partially worship Vin, and they hold Sazed in really high regard as like the first witness or something like that. And before we really get to vote, a bunch of assassins appear out of nowhere. These are Set's assassins. This is when Vin goes full fighter mode. I'm not usually a fight scene person, but I really love watching Vin fight specifically because she can use magic and because she's just like the coolest. But when she, oh my gosh, when she headbutts this dude, I don't know if there was a Mistborn among their midst, but they were Allomancers, notably going to be some of Set's strongest people, and she is taking them out left and right. And we know that Vin is like a very special Mistborn. She has more power than your average Mistborn for sure. And when she goes to headbutt this man, she decapitates him. Elend is standing like right next to us. He is horrified. And Vin sort of like mistakenly misplaces this as Elend being horrified by what she is, and that's not the case. Baby, Elend has been sheltered. Compared to what she has been through, Elend has, I don't even know if he's seen a dead body up that close, let alone someone decapitated. He reacts the way a normal person would react. For her, it's like not necessarily just another day, but it's normal. Whereas Elend reacts like I would. The voting thing, it made me so mad. We are voting for king because we never got to finish the vote because of the assassins. 2 guys vote for Set, and then like a couple people vote for Elend, and a couple people vote for Lord Penrod, some nobleman. If there's a tie, Elend remains king, and there's a tie. And then these 2 doofuses that voted for Set are like, can I change my vote? No! Elend, he has such a strong moral compass, which I respect in him as a character. But at that moment, I'm like, should have just kept your mouth shut, Elend. He's like, yeah, like you can change your vote as long as we haven't called it. They changed their votes to Lord Penrod, which means that Elend is no longer king, and Lord Penrod is theoretically king, even though for the rest of the book, nobody treats him like king. Everybody still thinks Elend is king because he's been able to accept that sort of power and persona thanks to all of Tindell's hard work. And for like a brief moment, I was like, I mean, Penrod doesn't seem like a horrible person until we see him talking to Straff. Because I was like, oh, at least we don't have Set. But then I'm like, oh, we have Straff's lackey. Zayn is so weird. We think that he's been poisoning Straff because of the voices. We find out later that this isn't necessarily the case, but like this whole thing of Zayn poisoning Straff all the time and Straff having to catch it is just like, I know it's horrifying, but it was so funny. It just seemed like so ridiculous, like of a game for them to play. Orseer almost broke his contract. I just love their friendship. It makes me so sad. Orseer knew that, like, during this assassin attack, he helped out. He attacked a human to save Vin. Now, if he had actually killed this human, he would have been killed himself because he can't kill people. But he was willing to risk that for her, which was really sweet. And then we find out that the Kandra religion, this is a total side note, this never came up again. The Kandra believe that they are going to come back to power. They're no longer going to be slaves, and the reason is because the humans are essentially going to kill themselves off at some point. I don't know if we're coming back to this, but I thought it was weird. I mean, like, we find out later that this wasn't it, but Orseer, when he needed to choose another body, he chose another dog body, and he was like, I just kind of like the way that the bones work. Vin felt horrible for, like, originally giving him a dog's body and finding out that it was a really degrading thing to do to him, and now, like, he chooses it and he's still her pet, and I thought it was so cute. Question. What do the Colos look like? I was picturing like an ox that stands. Elend goes and visits one of his friends, who we find out is like kind of in charge of a massive amount of Colos. And now the Colos are these like beast things that are super strong, and they have two emotions, and it's bored or mad as heck. And Elend is like, dude, like, you've got to be kidding me. If he loses control of these things, it's gonna go horribly. Fun fact, he loses control of them and it goes horribly. Back to Zayn, we are forming a reluctant friendship with at this point. He tells Vin that Demu is the traitor among them. Demu is one of their like friends, acquaintances. He is also involved in Church of Kelsier. This could potentially make sense. Vin has been testing all these people that she knows by asking them about all these former conversations, which Orseer like warns her that the Kandra are very thorough in their research when they take over someone and impersonate them. He's like, even if you had this conversation just you two a year ago, like there's a chance he knows about it. That is like why she's like kind of interrogating Doxson, because she can test people who have allomancy by having them perform allomancy, basically. Because if they can, that means they're not a Kandra. And so we're like kind of stuck with thinking like maybe it's Doxson. And then we now have Demu. Zayn also, he's just a bad influence. Convinces Vin to go and attack Set, sort of as like a preemptive measure. But then like she gets to him and it's like, it's too easy. She takes out like 100 men, and then she gets to Set and she doesn't kill him. Also with Zayn, can you believe that fight that happened? So Zayn shows up, first of all. He tells his dad, he's like, Straff, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go get my girlfriend. And I'm like, what girlfriend? I don't know who you're talking about, because Vin is like not into you like that. By the way, it was very weird to me that Vin thought he was an option. She, I feel like, clearly was not into him romantically. She saw Zayn as the person she should end up with because of who she is as a Mistborn, and that Elend is not the right match for her because he needs a queen and she's not a queen. But when Zayn comes to pick her up and he's like, we're gonna go live our lives in the mists, like, what type of plan is that? She almost goes. Like, it's crazy. She has this moment of like, no, I can't do this. Because you love Elend. Figure it out, lady. And then we find out that Zayn's love for her is clearly not real, because then he tries to kill her for not coming. He looks at Orseer and he commands him to like, whatever it was, do something. And I was like, are you joking? We find out that Orseer, he's not our Kandra anymore. It's a different Kandra. He's not ours to command. However, he tries to help her out during this fight with Zayn. And he's like, remember what I told you about our secret. And she's like, what even? And she's like trying to fight while she's doing this. And she tries to use some ATM that Zayn gave her. And it turns out that he just gave her like fake ATM, like it was just like a thing coded in ATM, so when she starts to burn it, it fizzles out super fast. And then she remembers that the Kandra don't like to be soothed or like have their emotions played upon, and she starts to kind of like go into his mind like that and finds out I can turn a Kandra into a puppet if I want to with allomancy. And so the Kandra had basically like given her permission to use this. And by the way, they're not supposed to tell this secret to anybody. And so she now has like player 2, like so that she can attack Zayn with both of them. I really liked that scene. Like that's so interesting. It's something that the Lord Ruler built into the Kandra so he could still control them while having these very powerful creatures. So she kills Zayn, even though Zayn is using ATM. And she figures out that she can't even be predictable to herself to sort of trick the ATM, and she manages to kill Zayn, even though I feel like I'm not 100% sure he's dead. Is that wrong? I'm really concerned he's gonna make another appearance. And then upon doing that killing Zayn is apparently what Vin needed to really go full force on Elend. Like, she was like all in now, when she was like just so concerned about it before. She runs to him crying, and I'm like, finally, like these two are finally gonna connect. Sazed, meanwhile, was meeting with the rest of our crew, and the crew was like, why is everybody here except for our leader and our Mistborn? And Sazed is like, they need to be sent away because we are all going to die in this attack, and at least we can get some of our people out. At first I thought it was going to be so hard to do, but then it was easier said than done, because Sazed goes and he helps heal Vin, and Vin is like, I need to find the Well of Ascension. I can feel it pounding into my brain like a headache this whole time. And Sazed gives her fake directions to send her out, and he's like, Elend, you have to go with her. And he wants to send Tindell, which she refuses to go, and they send Spook. Straff almost dies because his mistress had been not poisoning him, but giving him an addictive substance so that when he didn't have it, he felt like he was getting poisoned, and she could make the antidote, which was just more of the drug. How? That is diabolical. But I liked it because I hate Straff. And she hated Straff because, well, first of all, she was like kind of with Zayn, and then also she hated Straff because he basically discarded her. Were they married? A mistress? I don't know. But he discarded her basically because she wasn't a teenager anymore. Be so for real right now. Straff is like 50? I hated being inside his mind. It was horrible. Sazed marries Vin and Elend. Finally, we go off to find the Well of Ascension, and Elend runs into his friend who has lost control of the Colos, and he kills him. I didn't see that coming. I knew that Elend was mad, and he says to his friend, he's like, I forgive you, because the Colos are now on their way to like fight Luthadel, which is obviously not going to go well. Like, the Colos are so strong. And so him losing control over them basically like almost doomed Luthadel. And so I understand Elend's anger. I just honestly didn't think he had it in him to just like decapitate somebody. Turns out Sazed tricked them about where the well was because he wanted to get them out of the city. And Spook knew. And he had this like kind of a couple moments earlier where he's like, I'm a coward. Like, I'm a bad person. And I was like, Spook, like, it's okay to be scared of like war. Like, that's a reasonable fear. But he felt bad because he knew that they were being sent away to survive this and that no one else was going to. So Vin is like, you're kidding. And she's gonna go use her Mistborn abilities to get back to Luthadel. And she doesn't actually tell him that last night she maybe saved his life from one of those mist spirit thingies, but she's like, don't sleep at night. Like, I'm gonna go to Luthadel. You guys follow me. I am faster than horses, so you have to figure that out. And so Spook and Elend are headed back by horse at night, and she's like, please don't die by this mist thingy. Orianne, I didn't see myself liking her, to be honest. I thought it was like kind of weird that she was with Breeze. Like, she's so much younger than him. But turns out she's like an Allomancer, and it was almost a game for her to get Breeze to like her, because Breeze can also use Allomancy and impact people's emotions and stuff. But she's also Set's daughter. And so I thought it was so funny. We were leaving Luthadel, and Orianne was like in our posse of people who were gonna leave the city. Vin, did they get into a fight? I don't know exactly what happened, but Vin was like, leave her. Like, we're not taking her with us. And I mean, she just went back to Set's camp. Set doesn't like her for whatever reason. She's trying to get Set to help. I think she actually does have feelings for Breeze, which was just a weird relationship. I feel like we have not seen the last of her. The attack on Luthadel was just so anxiety-inducing. The Colos are at like every single gate that the city has, and they're breaking like all of them. Sazed stayed behind to almost play commander, which is like not his normal role, obviously. And when he asked for more people from Dockson is like, no, every gate is like broken into, which is horrible. And then I thought Sazed was gonna die. He is fully on his back looking up at the sun and like waiting for the sword to come down on him, and Vin thankfully saves him at the last minute. And I mean the last minute. Clubs and Dockson die. I'm not gonna lie, like, I didn't feel super close to either of them. The only reason I really liked Dockson was because Kelsey really liked him, and I liked that he was smart. But we didn't really have that much bonding with Dockson. And then we find Tindell dead. Sazed can't catch a break, man. They were like kind of romantic. It was such an intimate relationship of how they were studying and working together, and like the trust that they had with each other. And it took them a really long time to get there, and now she's gone. Brandon Sanderson, you did not have to do Sazed like that, my guy. Like, that sucked. Finn kills Straff. It was glorious. Oh my gosh. And she comes flying in, like sword at the ready. I was like, That leaves Set and the Colos to swear allegiance to Elend, which they do. And then they're like, Vin, what are you gonna do? And Vin is like, I'm going to bed. And like, she really needs it. This girl has been burning, what is it, pewter for like a month, and she has not slept ever. Girl, you deserve it. People need to stop asking you to make decisions. My notes just say, Marsh, why are you trying to kill us? This part got a little murky for me. Sazed is somewhere. A while back, he and Tindell realized that somebody had ripped off the same sentence in like all of the stuff that they have, except for obviously they have their like metal mines that can store all this stuff. Was Sazed looking for it? Something like that. We run into Marsh, and Marsh is like, Sazed, I don't want to kill you. And I don't understand what happened there. If you get it, could you please tell me? Because like, I feel like that came out of nowhere. Marsh, he's an inquisitor, so like, it's already kind of weird vibes, but like, I really don't know what was going on there. He was either trying to get Vin or he was trying to keep Sazed from getting to Vin, but I don't fully remember. And then Vin, she obviously figured out that the Well of Ascension is actually in Luthadel, and so she is with Elend, and then this mist spirit creature thing pops out. Vin is like, Elend, don't go towards the weird creature, and Elend does. Like, this is right before Vin is gonna go and like get the power from the Well of Ascension, and she knows that she's supposed to let it go, even though it could make her like a god. That is what the Lord Ruler did when he killed the Hero of Ages, who was supposed to take the power and took it for himself. Vin is like, she's so concerned. She's like, what am I gonna fall to that temptation? And like, obviously not. Like, Vin, you have a heart of gold, even though I don't think she thinks that she does. But then this mist creature thing slashes Elend through the stomach to kill him. It's like a temptation test. And then she goes and she gets the power from the Well of Ascension, and she knows, I can use this power to heal Elend and do what I want. She had talked to Sazed a while back about like love and stuff. Sazed sort of helps her work through this idea that a big part of love is respecting what the other person wants. She knows that Elend would rather die than have her use the power. At least what they think, if she releases the power, it'll save their people. So he's like, I would rather her save the people. And she knows this. She realizes like, if she really loves him, she's gonna respect that wish. And then Vin is like, okay, like, I'm gonna give up this power. She lets the power go. And then we hear this deep, ominous voice saying like, I'm free. What have we just done? I was so concerned. The second we heard that, I was like, that does not sound good. Sazed realizes that metal minds can be rewritten. And so this part of the prophecy thing that had been ripped from all of his copies, it's truly gone, because the metal mind has also been changed to make him think, and everyone think, that the next Hero of Ages had to let go of this power, when in reality, letting go of this power was probably the worst possible thing we could have done. Elend lives, thank goodness. He like heals, and he does it by drinking some metal, which would normally help an Allomancer, which, fun fact, Elend is now an Allomancer. First of all, I knew it. When we were reading this the whole time, I was like, Elend has to become an Allomancer at some point. It just made so much sense to me. And then when he started burning metal at the end, I was like, frick yeah, like, oh, it's so excited to watch Vin try to teach him how to use his powers. I don't know if he's gonna get all the Mistborn stuff, but yeah, that's gonna be really fun. And that's like sort of where we finish off. Sazed feels like he has no hope in the world at all. He thinks that him studying religions was useless because no matter how many he memorized, there was nothing that was gonna help him with his like grief and pain over Tindell dying. Then on top of that, feeling of like, my life is a lie, Tindell died, and then now we have done the worst possible thing we could have done by releasing this power. So I feel the most bad for Sazed, and I feel second most bad for Vin, because she just finally got to sleep for like a week, and now she's probably just gonna have to use her powers even stronger. No rest for this girl. I assume that this power has something to do with the deepness and the mists. Like, can the mists absorb the power? I just feel like it's kind of weird for us to fight mist. It's gonna have to come about in some other type of physical form, like a person, so there can be a real conflict there. So I don't really know where we're going from this. This is exactly how I felt at the end of book 1 too, where I was like, what next? Essentially. Clearly we're not done here, but I just don't really know where we're going. However, I loved this book. It was so good. Brandon Sanderson is a fantastic writer, and I really love the world of the Mistborn stuff. Like, I feel like obviously at some point we're gonna have to restore the environment, right? The sky is red, none of the plants are green. Like, it's it seems like the world has been just like taken over by this like ash, and now we have to figure out how to restore the world. I'm interested to see how that goes as well. I feel like that's something that's gonna happen at the end of the series though. I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you know what Marsh was doing at the end, like why he felt like he had to fight Sazed? That part was muddled for me. And then also, like, how did you feel about Tindell dying? Because like I'm not gonna lie, I did not see that coming at all. When she was like so angry at Sazed for trying to send her away, I thought she was gonna have this really cool fighting moment maybe, or like some sort of important role afterwards, and she just died. How do you picture the terrace people? I have no idea what they look like. I thought they were like a different species. I'm so confused because like in the last one, I thought that the Ska had to be like a different species, but they aren't. Like Vin was able to insert herself into noble society and nobody noticed. So like I'm just kind of confused about what people are. The Khandra to me is like an amorphous blob before it takes over a body. So like I don't know. I need to look that up, I guess. I'm excited to read the next one though. I have a feeling like this is gonna go epic places. Please like this video if you liked it. Click subscribe if you want to talk about more book stuff. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye.